Someone reached out to me to make a Dodge Charger angle kit.
Yo, Cletus, we got a Charger you might like. Listen to this, Cleater. We got a T6 Hurricane, 800 horsepower, big spoolie boy, rear wheel drive, ready to party with your name on it.
8th gen, brand new, 2026. So I basically told them no. And then they gave me the timeline, they gave me the outline, and they told me some more details, and I basically couldn't refuse. So I spent my weekend making this setup for them. It's a one-off, so we have to be really particular on how we go about designing this. There can't be too many machine components. There can't be too much custom parts or time involved. So you're going to see that breakdown. The parts are being machined right now. We do have to machine some, there's no getting around that. And then the laser cutting and water jet cutting, those parts are being done. But what's incredible about today and being able to do these things is the ability to draw from what we've already created, all of the part numbers, Excel spreadsheets and breakdowns of components that we have. I'm gonna show you basically the process on how I would go about making something like this. So some backstory, Suppy's Garage, Micah Diaz, X-Comp Tires, Corey, Dan, Micah, might be missing one. I gotta check the group chat. The guy's name's Alex, he scanned it. I told him very specifically, detailed, what to scan and what I needed. Knuckle with bearing, knuckle without bearing, rotors, suspension on, suspension off, upper control arm. So many things individually need to be scanned. And then so many things need to be measured and accounted for. For example, the bushing width plus the diameter, some of that's hard to capture on a scan. Like the hole on the subframe could be a 16 mil hole, but I've seen that the bushing is actually a 14 millimeter bolt, and then the chassis just has a larger hole. So luckily I got all the details. They did a great job measuring everything for me. Really important to blend 3D scanning with mechanical and actual measuring of stuff. This is the kit on the screen. It's a double wishbone, large aluminum components. And when I say large, this car is 20-inch wheels. The knuckle is massive. It's bigger than any knuckle we've seen in terms of 350, 370, R35. It's very similar to an R35, which is a big car. They all have a upper control arm that's above the wheel, tall strut towers, long shocks. Unlike the Corvettes, the S2000s, those are double wishbone, but their upper control arm is inside of the wheel still. Suprasor, things like that. So this being significantly more, it does a few things. It gives more control, more leverage on the knuckle, different size wheel, and typically speaking, it's just what I've seen on bigger cars. This is very common on trucks too. Like this is when you get into SUV truck stuff, you're gonna start seeing the upper being above the wheel. It's also significantly stronger. The further apart the pickup points of a suspension system, the more leverage they have on controlling the wheel, and the more strength and rigidity and stiffness you have in the system altogether. Things like a Corvette are quite lightweight and everything's low and compact, so when you're dealing with big cars, this is just very common. The next thing we had to consider was we do not have time to make a full knuckle for this. So I have to get creative. Let's look at the knuckle on its own. You can see I do have the cut line highlighted, but more or less this is kind of what you're dealing with. So when I was looking at this, I actually spent a couple hours trying to see if I could adapt into one of these holes, but the problem is with the virtual scrub radius design, which is the double control arm, if I choose any one of these control arms, this one will be too far behind the hub and this one will be too far in front of the hub. So that is going to give me a caster value that's just not going to work well. So I need to go in between, I need to go somewhere in the middle, and there just isn't enough room to go above or below to do that. So I had to lop off the bottom. So that's what we did here. We're gonna maintain the tie rod pickup because I wanted to use that for structure later on down the road. From here, I defined what my ideal ball joint location would be so that I could dial in my caster. And then I basically just started working backwards from there. I would have started with this plate. This is called the main plate. This is just the design names that I would come up with. And the main plate is what's gonna locate the ball joint. And what I would have done at the beginning, which I'm not gonna show you, create pickup points for the suspension and then optimize the suspension with just points first. That way I can cycle the suspension up and down turning. I can make sure the bump, the scrub, the Ackerman, everything is within check. I can show you that here. There is 3 days left this week to buy this shirt and win a trip to this shop, win a trip drifting with me at the track, and then win some 3D Connection and Fusion products. You have 3 days left. One of you guys is gonna be sitting here beside me at the shop learning everything that there is to know about running your own business, making your own parts, and drifting if you want. So go to the website, pick up one of these shirts. 3 days left. This is where most of the entries are gonna be coming in, so get your spot. Good luck. Now back to the video. 10 degrees was around the ride height, so I'll lock this. So now I'm just only turning. If we check our lead versus trail angle, this is with 0 toe. We can do a little inspection, show the origin. We're showing 61 degrees of angle there, and then we'll turn all the way this way, 59. So we're showing a spread of approximately 2 degrees with 0 toe. Typically, everyone's gonna be running a little bit of toe out, and then we're gonna see probably a 3-degree difference from lead to trail on the car itself, which is right in the realm of where I like to run things. I do like to run slight positive. I didn't make this kit adjustable Ackerman. This is basically demo show car that's not going to be competing in anything. And then time constraints, this is just where we ended up. Could we do adjustable Ackerman down the road? Absolutely. I'll tell you one thing, not many guys are drifting brand new Chargers. The rack position was loosely located. The scan wasn't the best, but I had to make do with what I was given. So the scan on the full suspension, the scan on the components was actually really good. So no shade on anyone else. But all I had for picking up the rack was the outer tie rod position there. And the other thing that you really need to consider with angle kits is the clearance for the tie rod and the steering rack to the control arm. On all these front steering rack cars, the tie rod's always going over top of the control arms. Fortunately, the rack on this car is super high, and I've seen this more and more often on the bigger cars. So it actually never comes in contact or even close to the lower control arm, which is great because that means I don't need to put any bends or anything in the control arm. This gives us a big edge on speed of manufacturing and accuracy, so the arm can just be cut and put in place. I did put the caster adjustment block on this side, and I can show you that here. Let's unlock this joint here, and you can see how that caster works. So they can thread in and out on this joint, and that's going to give them their caster. Bunch of caster control, so that's great, and then we can further extend this joint to do our camber, and then you can correct it with the caster. We'll leave that locked so it doesn't do anything weird. So the rack's travel range was just under 6 inches total. So what we do is we take that in half, center it, and then we're allowed to basically see what we're gonna get for a lead and trail, which I already showed. The upper control arm, we're going to be leaving that as stock right now. The wheel is a different size than this one, but I was mostly concerned about the barrel, the back spacing of the wheel. And again, due to time, I threw this in here so that I could see the barrel back spacing, and then the actual width of it, it'll be about 2 inches wider than the stock track width. So it'll go from 82.5 to around 86.5 track width, which is a very wide car. It's a little bit wider than my competition Corvette. Other than that, you can kind of see everything. I can look at the adapter a bit more on how this was designed. We can see that our bump stops for lead and trail make a good contact on the control arm perches here. So lead and trail, we can set that up. That's important on these kind of cars because they have a lot of OEM components still. So we do want to allow for them to limit that. I needed to consider the calipers on this thing are massive. So I can make that visible. Caliper and rotors I needed to clear. Also, this is an all-wheel drive, so I had to make sure we had enough space to the axle because they are putting in an axle, cutting off the stub shaft and making that run short. We're locating this plate using the backside of the bearing bolts, so we're putting longer bolts through, and then we're picking up on the tie rod location, threading itself into a bung. The bung is welded to the plate, and this is high strength alloy steel plate that's going to be swooped under, connecting everything together using a lot of the OEM structure. Then we have some gusset plates in here. These are going to prevent bending of the plate. Because the shock goes to the lower control arm, a lot of the forces are traveling through the lower and into the bottom of the plate. So all the weight of the vehicle is basically pulling down on the tire. So the tire is against the ground, the shock is pushing down on the control arm. The control arm is trying to basically pull off of the wheel. So the weight of the car is pushing down. So it's trying to separate from the wheel, all of its forces are pulling down. So you see a lot of tension through this area, and you see a lot of bending forces through this area. So we needed to structurally brace that. The swoop in here is just to go around the casting so they don't have too much work to do. And then I did 3D print them a guide for cutting. So this is the guide that they will use to print. I did print one. They are actually printing it first because they can basically print this and they will start working on prepping the knuckles before they get the angle kit. This needs to be shipped by like tomorrow. This is Monday. Tomorrow's Tuesday. Today's Tuesday for you watching. This will help them locate and cut the knuckle. And then the rest is, you know, pretty easy for them to put on. They're gonna receive this kit, everything's gonna fit. All of these spacers we needed to machine. This entire chassis uses 16mm bolts, so quite large. We don't typically make spacers for that size. Mustangs and a couple other cars do have that, but most are M14. The Ackerman was tricky to get that to fit well while still maintaining the stock knuckle without going with a bunch of scrub radius. We did end up with great kingpin, great camber. Kingpin is the line that would go through the upper ball joint and then this lower ball joint here. Our caster is going to be fantastic, approximately 7 degrees, 6.5 to 7. And it's all going to end up handling really well based off of all the other angle kits that we make. The parameters here are gonna work perfect. They did tell me that with the stock control arms, they were drifting it, and it felt very numb, very dead. That is pretty common with the virtual scrub control arms, the ones that are dual and they go around each other like this. It's great for road racing, it's great for tire wear, it's great for handling. It's not great for drifting. It takes away from the jacking, it takes away from a lot of the self-steer characteristics. It handles okay. We have it on the E80 still with our mini kit, but you can just feel something's missing, and it really is the weight jacking effect from the scrub, from the KPI, and from all the other kinematics that make the front end of a drift car handle well. The shock's gonna go to here. I gave them a couple options. Like I said, I don't have the car here physically. They needed something ASAP. I'm making it happen for them. There may very well need to be some updates to this post-install. I'm sending them 2 kits. They're setting up 2 cars, so we're gonna have the answers by the end of this week on how well it all worked, how well it all fit. And you know, going forward, we would obviously make any updates post-install to see if there's room for improvement. I am working on some S197 stuff. We're doing some road racing and some drifting stuff. I've had this kit out for 7 years, made 0 updates to it in that time. It is time to make those updates. So we are taking a look at the OEM CAD from Ford, going over all of the possibilities for road racing. You can see I've already got the large roll center correction ball joint here. That's going to be going into the stock knuckle, and we're going to see what can cross over. Can we do a mini mild mega setup that's easy for everybody, so on and so forth. So this one's going to be a fun project. Going to be on it for a couple months. Going forward, we have a bunch of updates to the shop. We're getting a new CNC brake press, 120 ton. That thing's coming in pretty soon. So that's it. I don't really have anything else to talk about, and we'll see you guys in the next video later on this week.